Welcome to this lecture. So in this lecture I'm going to show you the way 1 of handling the button onClick event, that is by implementing the view.onClick listener interface. So head back to your Android Studio. So here you can see that I have already created a empty activity project inside the Android Studio that gives us two files. The first is the main activity.java file and the second file that we got is activity main.xml. So you need to create an empty activity project to follow along with this video. So at the end of this video, I'm going to make a backup of this project so that you can download this project from the resources section and check your code with my code if anything goes wrong while you are implementing the project inside the Android Studio. So first I'm going to design the layout. So here you can see that right now it has only one text view inside our constraint layout. So I'm going to delete this text view by pressing the delete button, and I'm going to click on this layouts, and from here select this linear layout vertical and place it inside the constraint layout. Then inside this linear layout we need to place two buttons. So first I'm going to drag the button inside this linear layout. So this is our button 1 and we need another one. So I'm going to again select the button and drag it inside the linear layout. Now I'm going to click on this text to switch into the text view of the XML. So from here I'm going to change the code through XML. Now I'm going to click on this project tab so that I can get a more wider area to work. Also I'm going to click on this preview button so that I can see my preview, means the changes that I made inside the design editor. So first I'm going to give the ID to this constraint layout. So I'm going to type ID, and the ID I'm going to specify as constraint layout. Let's make this C as small. Then also I'm going to specify the ID to this linear layout. So I'm going to type ID linear layout, and then specify the ID to this button as placing the button 1 and button 2 is same. Then I'm going to specify the margin. So I'm going to type margin and I'm going to specify margin as 60 dp. So this makes the smaller. Then I'm going to set the constraint to this linear layout. So here you can see that I have set the constraint to this linear layout. Also I'm going to specify the gravity of inside the linear layout, a property, and I'm going to specify the gravity as center. Now what is the motive of this application that I'm going to create? So when I just click on this first button, so I want to change the background color of both the layout. Similarly, when I click on the second button, I also want to change the background of the layouts. That's why I have specified the ID to the linear layout and also the ID inside the constraint layout, so that I can inflate these two layouts inside the main activity. So it's time to inflate these views inside the main activity and change the background color of the layout. But before that I want to make little modification inside the button so that it looks little bit nice. So first I'm going to specify here a property called text size. So I'm going to specify the text size as 50 sp. Now it's in 50 sp is more, so I'm going to reduce it to 30 sp. So 30 sp is fine. Also I'm going to specify the text style and I'm going to specify the text style as bold. Then I'm going to type caps, not V, then I'm going to type caps. So I'm going to type text all caps equal to false. Also I need to specify the text. So I'm going to type here the first button. The first letter is to make sure it should be capital. First button. Then I'm going to copy these 3 lines of code because I want the same code inside the second button as well. Then Ctrl V to paste it. Then change the text of the second button to second button. So that's what I need. Also I'm going to specify the margin top is about 20 dp, so that there is a difference between little spacing between these two buttons. So our layout is pretty much done. Now it's time to inflate these views inside the main activity.java file. So I'm going to click on this main activity.java file. Then here at the top, first I need to create some variables that is of type button. So I'm going to type button, this is the third one that I want, and I'm going to type first button then second button, hit a semicolon. Then again I am going to specify the variable for the constraint layout. So type constraint layout and hit a semicolon. Then again for linear layout and hit a tab key and linear. Now it's time to initialize this variable inside the onCreate because it is the best place to initialize all our views. So first I'm going to initialize the first button. First button equals to find view by id, hit a tab key and r.id. And the ID of the button 1 is button 1. Then for second button, find view by ID r.id. And the ID of the second button is button 2. Then for constraint layout, simply hit constraint layout, find view by ID, then r.id. And the ID of the constraint layout is constraint layout. And similarly for linear layout, find view by id. And the ID of the linear layout is linear layout. So here we have initialized all our views. Now in this lecture I am going to show you the way one of handling the onClick listener when we click on the buttons. So for that we need to implement the view.onClick listener interface. So to implement the interface we need to click on at the end of this app compact activity, and here you need to type implements and then we need to type capital V view.onClick listener interface. So I need to type on. So here you can see that onClick listener interface shows in the list of the options. So simply hit a tab key. So it will simply highlight the entire line to the red. So just click on this red line and just click on this bulb icon and click on this implement methods. Then we need to override this onClick method. So simply hit OK. So here you can see that the onClick method is overridden. Inside of this onClick method we need to use a switch case statement. So I'm going to type switch, then with the use of v dot, and I'm going to call a getID method, then starting the block of switch. So if it is a case of r dot id dot button 1, then I want to change the color of the layout to something. Then I also need to first specify the change. So if it is a case of r dot id dot button 1, then I want to change the color of the stool layout. So before that I'm also going to specify the case 2 as well. r.id. And here I'm going to specify the button 2. Just colon and then press a break. So first I'm going to change the color of the constraint layout, means the background color of this. So for that we need to use a set background color method. So that's the set background color, and I'm going to use a color dot, and here I'm going to use a gray. Then again I'm going to type linear layout dot set background color, and then you need to use a color class color dot, and here I'm going to use a yellow. Then inside of this case 2, when there is a case of button constraint layout dot, not comma, here I will specify dot set background color. So again I need to specify set color, and here I'm going to use a red color. Now again constraint, it's time to change the color of the linear layout, the background color of the linear layout. So again type set background color dot, and here to specify black. So not black, I'm going to specify blue. So all the coding is done. Now it's time to run the application to see the change, but before that we need to set the listener to the buttons by calling the set onClick listener method. So here I'm going to type one comment setting the listener to the button. Now first there is the first button dot set onClick listener, and here we need to pass the this. Then second button dot set onClick listener, and then you need to pass the this. So now our coding is done. It's time to run the application to see the code in action. So I'm going to run it into my virtual emulator that running a API level 28. That is the Android Pie version, Android 9 in short, you can say that. Simply hit OK and wait for the Gradle to build the project inside our virtual emulator. So here you can see that our application is up and running. So when I click on this first button, so you can see that the background color of the constraint layout is changes to gray and the linear layout is changes to yellow. So if I click on the second button, So you can see that the background color of the constraint layout changes to red and the background color of the linear layout changes to blue. So in this lecture we learned how to use the wave 1, that is view.onClick listener interface, to handle the button onClick event. So that's all about this lecture. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you.